I'm not the kind of guy who normally tells his story to strangers. I was raised with the whole, keep it to yourself, deal with your own mess mindset. But then again, life has a funny way of humbling you right when you think you've got it all figured out. So if you're sitting there expecting some tear-soaked sob story or inspirational, we grew from it kind of nonsense, let me save you the trouble. This isn't that. This is just what happened. To me, to my marriage, and to the version of myself I didn't know was walking straight into the worst kind of betrayal. My name's Joseph Klein, 38 years old, father of two, homeowner in a quiet cul-de-sac in Indiana, Monday through Friday logistics manager at a mid-sized warehouse. In other words, nothing flashy. Just a regular guy who gets up before the sun, brews a cheap cup of coffee, drives the same pickup he's driven for 10 years, and tries to be decent. That used to be enough. Jessica, my wife of 9 years, is the kind of woman people either adore or quietly envy. She's sharp, she's quick on her feet, and she has this charisma that sneaks up on people. It's not loud or flashy. It's the subtle kind. The kind that makes waiters remember her order from 3 months ago and makes PTA moms try a little too hard to be her friend. She works in education management. Not a teacher, but the person who coordinates between school boards and grant providers. She's out a lot. Conferences, district meetings, networking events, whatever you want to call them. Sounds important, right? It used to impress me. Back when we met, I thought she was the most confident woman I'd ever seen. We met at a friend's July 4th barbecue, and I swear, within the first 10 minutes, she'd asked me where I saw myself in 5 years. Who even does that? I thought it was charming. She thought I was solid. Her word, not mine. That's how it started. We moved in together after a year, got married the next summer, and before I knew it, we were hosting our own BBQs in a house with a swing set in the yard. We have 2 boys. Max is 8, Jacob is 6. They're good kids. Loud, messy, and occasionally demonic, but good. Jessica's always had a more polished way of dealing with them. I'm the roughhouse and yell at bedtime parent. She's the clipboard and consequences type. It worked. Or at least I thought it did. Now, before you jump to conclusions, this isn't a story that starts with, I always knew something was off. I didn't. Not at first. That's the worst part, really. I was content. Not bored, not suspicious, just content. Our marriage wasn't fireworks, but it wasn't a dumpster fire either. It was routines. Drop-offs, takeout Fridays, occasional date nights, fights about screen time, and budget spreadsheets. Nothing dramatic. But looking back, yeah, there were cracks. Just not the kind you see unless you're looking for them. And I wasn't. It started with little things. Her phone wasn't out as much anymore. Not like in the old stories where she's glued to it. No, Jess was smarter than that. Her phone was usually in a drawer or face down. Harmless. Unless you understand people. Which I do now. Then there were the conferences. She always had those. Usually 2 or 3 nights, tops. But around last fall, they started getting longer. Superintendent Summit in Louisville, policy meeting in Ann Arbor, leadership cohort in Chicago. I didn't even question it. I joked that she was becoming one of those people who collects hotel points like baseball cards. She'd laugh and roll her eyes. Said I was overthinking it. She always knew how to say just enough to disarm me. And I let her. That's on me. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The real kicker, the seed of everything that was about to unravel, wasn't a phone ping or some lipstick on a collar. It was a spreadsheet. Yep, a boring, dry, perfectly formatted Excel spreadsheet. See, I'm not a snoop. Never have been. But every year, I do our taxes. All of them. I'm that guy who still uses TurboTax and actually reads the IRS instructions. So one Saturday in March, I sit down at the kitchen table with my laptop, a pile of 1099s and W-2s, and Jess's email open because she gets some of her work forms sent directly there. She's out with the kids at some birthday party, bouncy houses and cake, the whole circus. While I'm digging for her 1099 from some school consultancy gig she did, I stumble on a folder. It's labeled Q4 Budget Proposals. Now, most of her work stuff's named similarly. She's organized, almost obsessively. But I open it out of habit, thinking maybe I'll find the freelance invoice she mentioned. Inside, I find 12 documents. Only one is a budget proposal. The rest? They're receipts. Hotel receipts. Rideshare statements. One of them even includes a breakdown of minibar charges and Wi-Fi add-ons. That one's from December, a supposed 2-night conference in Cincinnati. Except the checkout date is 4 days later than she told me, and the room is for 2 guests. I sat there staring at the screen like it was in another language. Still, I didn't lose it. I didn't even feel anger, not right away. Just confusion. Then came the justifications. Maybe she had a friend with her? A colleague who split the room. Maybe the hotel just defaulted to 2 guests. You see how quick the brain wants to protect itself? I could have stopped there. I could have closed the laptop, poured a drink, and told myself it was nothing. But something about those mini-bar charges, those damn $11 glasses of wine and overpriced Toblerones, got under my skin. Jess doesn't touch wine unless it's Pinot Grigio, and even then, it's usually at home, in her pink stemless glass, during The Bachelor. So I kept digging. And that's where it started. I found more folders. Some renamed, some hidden in corners of her cloud drive. Things you wouldn't notice unless you were looking. PDFs of airline confirmations that didn't match any trips I remembered. Dinner reservations at rooftop restaurants in cities I didn't know she visited. One labeled Strategic Partner Travel Coordination. Who the hell was the strategic partner? Now before you ask, no, I didn't find any intimacy. No selfies in hotel beds. Nothing like that. Like I said, Jessica's smart. But this wasn't about catching her red-handed in some cliché trap. This was about the gut. The quiet, crawling instinct that tells you your whole reality is one conversation away from shattering. So I printed the receipts. All of them. Highlighted every odd date, every extra guest notation. I kept them in a manila folder in my truck. Didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I needed a moment. One she wouldn't see coming. And I got it. Oh, did I get it? But that's part 2. For now, just know this. If you think you're immune to betrayal because you're solid, or because you provide, or because you've never strayed, think again. People don't cheat because they're missing something. They cheat because they want more than what they promised. And sometimes, they do it with a smile that says, I love you, while their bags are packed for someone else's bed. Stay tuned. It gets uglier. Here's the thing they never tell you about betrayal. It's not the moment you catch them red-handed that breaks you. It's the minute your brain connects all the dots and you realize they were already lying to you back when you thought everything was fine. That's the part that screws with your head. The part where you have to relive every smile, every kiss, every I love you, and ask yourself if it was ever real or if you were just the idiot in the background while they rehearsed their lines for someone else. That's where I was, living in limbo, armed with a folder full of suspicious receipts and a head full of questions. I hadn't said a word to Jessica yet. Not because I was scared, but because I wasn't going to walk into that conversation unprepared. I've seen guys do that. Barge in, start shouting, get half-truths and sob stories, and come out worse than they went in. I wasn't playing that game. Instead, I waited, watched, listened. Jessica didn't notice anything different. That's the wild part. She kept going through the motions like we were still the couple from our wedding photos, kissing me goodbye in the mornings, texting me, how's your day, from the carpool lane, posting filtered family pictures like we were the damn Cleavers. All smiles, all staged. I wasn't staging anything. I was watching her closer than ever. Not for the obvious things, lipstick on collars, late-night texting. That's amateur hour. Jess was smarter than that. I was watching her for inconsistencies. Slips. Things you only catch when you're paying attention like your life depends on it. And eventually, I found it. It happened on a Wednesday. One of those dull, forgettable middle-of-the-week days where nothing's supposed to happen. I got home from work around 5:40. Jessica wasn't home yet. That wasn't unusual. She had a team meeting at the district office. Said she'd be home by 6:30. I figured I'd feed the boys and let her stroll in like she always did, phone in hand, apology ready. While I was heating up chicken nuggets for the kids, I remembered that Max had a reading log due the next day. He's in 2nd grade, and every week we have to write down what books he's read at home. I'd been too distracted to deal with it, and I didn't want to forget again. Jess usually keeps school papers in this ugly beige accordion folder that lives on the bookshelf in the hallway. She calls it the command center, like we're running a military operation instead of a house with crayons on the walls and goldfish crumbs in the couch. I open the folder, start flipping through pages, and something falls out. At first glance, it looked like just a printed email, a few sheets stapled together. I almost stuffed it back in. But then I saw the subject line. Excited to see you again. JW Marriott itinerary attached. I froze. JW Marriott. Not exactly where you stay for a district meeting. I pulled the pages apart. My hands were actually shaking. I remember that because it made me mad. Like, really mad. Not even at her, at myself. For getting rattled like some teenager catching his girlfriend texting the quarterback. The email was from a guy named Andrew Kerr. That name didn't ring any bells. I scrolled through the thread. It went back 3 weeks. Back and forths about flights, dinner reservations, and one particular line that hit me like a sledgehammer. Can't wait to get some time away from the chaos. Same suite as last time. Hope it still has the jacuzzi. Sweet. Jacuzzi. Same as last time. What chaos, exactly, was she trying to escape? Me? The kids? The last reply was from her. Short and sweet. Perfect. See you Thursday, eh? Not Andrew. Not Mr. Kerr. Just cute. I stood there, the microwave beeping behind me, while my kids chased each other through the living room screaming about dinosaur attacks. Meanwhile, I'm holding concrete proof that my wife, my Jessica, is cheating on me with someone I've never even heard of, and she's dumb enough to leave the printed emails in our damn command center. Who does that? Here's the irony. I didn't even feel angry. Not right away. I felt amused. Like watching a magician screw up a trick on live TV. Like, wow, that's how you're going to play it? That's the best you've got. I snapped a picture of the email with my phone. All of it. Every page. Then I slipped the papers back into the folder. Same place, same order, and went back to the kitchen like nothing happened. Max was still arguing with Jacob over who got the blue plate. I handed out the food, smiled, and said, "Let's finish dinner quick, boys. I want to read you something cool before bed." At 6:43 p.m., Jessica walked through the door wearing her usual district meeting face, tired but important. She kissed the boys, gave me a quick, "Hey, babe," and dropped her tote bag on the entry table like always. I asked her how the meeting went. She said it was fine but long. I nodded, told her the boys were almost ready for bed. Then she asked if I had a chance to fill out Max's reading log. I smiled and said, I did. Found it right in the folder. She froze for half a second, just a flicker in her expression, but it was there. A crack in the veneer. Then she smiled too and said, "Good job, Captain." She calls me that sometimes. Captain. It used to feel playful. Now it felt like mockery. That night, after she fell asleep, I did something I never thought I'd do. I made a LinkedIn account. Now, I know that sounds random, but hear me out. The guy's name was Andrew Kerr. He booked meetings at the JW Marriott and used phrases like "same suite." He had to have a job, probably something corporate. And corporate guys always have LinkedIn profiles. It's like their version of Instagram. Took me less than 5 minutes. Andrew Kerr, Regional Development Manager at a tech firm based in Columbus. Mid-40s. Married. No, wait, divorced. Has a daughter in college. Smiling in a blazer in front of some exposed brick wall, like he's selling startup culture by the pound. I scrolled through his posts. Found one from a month ago. Excited to be speaking at the NEA Strategic Planning Conference this weekend in Chicago. And guess who was also at a conference that weekend? Jessica. I didn't need any more proof. But I wasn't done. The next day, while Jessica was in the shower, I took her car keys and snapped a picture of the VIN number on her registration. Then I called a buddy of mine, Vince, who works in fleet maintenance at my warehouse. Asked him if he still had access to the DMV affiliate software. He owed me a favor. 20 minutes later, I had access to her toll pass history. I won't bore you with details, but let's just say Jess has been doing a lot of networking on the outskirts of the city. Same toll routes. Same times. Some of them didn't match any conferences. By that afternoon, I had a full travel pattern. Friday night trips. Sunday returns. All within 50 miles of where our boy Andrew Kerr supposedly lives. She wasn't just cheating. She was efficient about it. And here's where things took a turn. I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I wanted clarity. I wanted to see how far she'd go if she thought I didn't know. So I let it ride. That weekend, she said she had back-to-back board meetings and had to leave Friday night. I kissed her goodbye at the door. She said, "You're amazing for holding down the fort." I smiled and said, "I try." She left, and I followed her. Not in the car. Not with binoculars. That's for amateurs. I used the best tracking tool I had, our oldest son's tablet. Max plays games on it. But what Jessica didn't know is that it's linked to her iCloud. Same Apple ID. So when she used her iPhone to text, her messages sometimes popped up on his tablet if it was connected to Wi-Fi. I waited until the boys were asleep, then sat in my garage with the tablet and watched the messages roll in. Not many. She was careful, but I saw one. Room 243 again? Or did they upgrade us? And the reply? Upgraded. Corner suite. Bring that red dress. I put the tablet down. Sat in silence. It was real. Not a suspicion. Not a hunch. Not some misunderstanding. It was happening. And now it was my move. But I wasn't going to scream or throw things. I had something better. And it was going to hit her exactly where she thought she was safe. There's a strange calm that hits you right before you do something irreversible. Like the silence before a tornado. That's where I was, sitting at our dining table, Saturday morning, pouring cereal for Max and Jacob like nothing in the world was off. Except everything was. My wife was cheating. She was 30 miles away in a hotel suite with a guy named Andrew Kerr, sipping overpriced cocktails and playing out whatever fantasy they thought they had going. And I was flipping pancakes, asking my 6-year-old if he wanted chocolate chips or blueberries. Jessica had no idea I knew. That was her first mistake. I didn't lose sleep the night before. I slept better than I had in weeks. Maybe it's because I finally had the full picture. No more what-ifs, no more pit in my stomach. I had facts, patterns, screenshots, dates, toll logs, all wrapped in a neat digital file I'd organized on my computer under the title jess_realitycheck.zip. But this wasn't going to be a shouting match. I wasn't going to do the predictable thing. Confront her with the evidence. Wait for tears. Hear the recycled excuses about how it just happened, or we've been distant. I wasn't giving her a single inch to wiggle out of this. I wanted the truth on my terms. And more than that, I wanted her to lie to my face first. I wanted to watch it happen. So I waited. Played the long day out like nothing was wrong. Took the boys to the park. Picked up some mulch for the flower beds I didn't plan to finish. Kept my phone close, tracking hers every few hours through the Find My app she'd set up on our shared devices when she lost her phone last year. Still sharing locations. Still stupid. Around 6:10 p.m., she texted, "Jess, on my way home. Traffic's kind of rough. Should be back around 7:30. Thanks again for managing the chaos, Red Heart." The chaos. That's what she called our kids. The same ones I was feeding, bathing, tucking in. The same ones who didn't know mom spent the weekend in someone else's bed while dad read them bedtime stories. I texted back, "Me. No problem, Captain at the helm. Drive safe." She sent a smiley face. Classic Jessica. Polished, predictable, patronizing. I put the boys down around 8. Brushed teeth, 2 stories, 1 fight about why Jacob can't sleep in the hallway. By 8:30, the house was quiet. Then I heard the garage door open. Showtime. I stayed at the kitchen table, laptop open, folder beside me. She came in wearing black jeans and a green sweater. Her casual, I was totally working all weekend outfit. Her hair was tied back, earrings off. Still had that faint smell of hotel soap. Not hers. Something citrusy. Classy. Not homey. "Hey," she said with a tired smile, setting down her bag. "You look alive. How were the monsters?" "Monstrous," I said, matching her smile. "Bedtime's a war zone." She chuckled, walked over, leaned down and kissed the top of my head. "You're a hero. Seriously." "Oh, I know." She poured herself a glass of water, leaned against the counter. "What did you do all weekend?" "Mostly survival mode," I said. "You know how it is." "God, I missed them," she said, sipping. "And you?" I looked up at her. Yeah. It was a lot. Those meetings were just constant. MMM. "And how was the hotel?" She blinked. Tiny delay. "Hotel was fine. Just a generic room. Nothing special." I nodded slowly. "Nothing special. Right." She smiled again. "They didn't even have working Wi-Fi in the room. Had to go to the lobby for everything." I watched her carefully. "No jacuzzi?" "What?" "Nothing," I said, sipping my coffee. Guess I was thinking of somewhere else. She didn't flinch. She was good, but not good enough. "Hey, I've got something weird to ask," I said, standing up and walking to the laptop. "Can you remind me, when exactly did you go to that Chicago conference last month? I need to match something for taxes." "Oh, it was the 12th through the 14th, she said instantly. She'd rehearsed that. I nodded. "Got it. Just checking." I clicked open the folder, turned the laptop slightly toward her. One of the hotel bills was up on the screen. Dated the 12th through the 16th. Same hotel. Same trip. 2 guests. Jacuzzi suite. Jessica's face didn't change for a full 3 seconds. Then she blinked. What is that? You tell me. I. I don't. Where did you get that? Does it matter? She stared at the screen, face draining. I don't know what this is. That's the wrong answer, Jess. She looked at me now directly. Why are you going through my stuff? You know, that's the second wrong answer. But let's keep going. I'm curious how deep this fantasy goes. Her voice got sharp. You went through my emails? You printed them. You left them in Max's school folder. You practically handed them to me in a manila envelope with a bow on it. Silence. You lied to me, I said, finally dropping the act. You lied to our kids. You lied to yourself, Jessica. It's not what you think. Oh, it's exactly what I think. You and Andrew Kerr. Hotel rooms. Repeat trips. Carefully timed board meetings. I know more than you think I do. She stepped forward, eyes wide. Joe, listen. It's not an affair. Don't. Just don't. Her voice cracked. You've been distant for months. Nope. I raised a hand. We're not doing the you weren't there for me routine. I was here. Every single day. Packing lunches, folding laundry, scraping gum off the minivan door. I showed up. You didn't. I didn't mean for this to happen, she said, her voice suddenly smaller. Yeah, that's usually how cheating works. Nobody ever plans it. But you planned everything else, didn't you? The trips, the lies, the damn room upgrades. She started. Let me guess, I said. You're confused. You need time. You're sorry you hurt me. Go ahead. Say the words. I want to hear the whole performance. She didn't say anything. Just stood there, eyes glossy, hands shaking. I sat back down. I'm not going to yell, Jess. I'm not going to scream or break things. But I need you to understand something very clearly. She looked up. This is over. You don't get to cheat and then negotiate. There's no gray area here. You made your choice. You're kicking me out? She whispered. No, I said. I'm giving you until Monday morning to figure out where you're going to stay next. I'll take the kids to school. You'll pack what you need. And after that, we're done. She started to cry. And it was real. But it didn't matter. Because the thing about tears, they don't erase receipts. They don't cancel room service or jacuzzi upgrades or a man who signs his texts. Hey, Joe, please. I'm not angry, I said. You don't get angry when a tornado hits your house. You just rebuild and make damn sure you never ignore the warning signs again. She stood there, crying quietly, shaking. I didn't move. And in that moment, something strange happened. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt free. She tried to walk toward me. I got up, turned, and walked out the front door. Got in the truck. Drove off without a word. Because now it was time to plan something of my own. Revenge, smart, clean, quiet, and absolutely unforgettable. I've always believed that revenge is best served cold, but not just cold. Precise. Surgical. The kind that makes a person sit alone, weeks or months later, and wonder how they didn't see it coming. Not because it was loud or explosive, but because it was brilliant. Quiet. I wasn't going to torch her clothes or smash her windshield like some unhinged high school ex. No, Jessica was going to learn what it felt like to watch her whole world evaporate, slowly, politely, and in front of an audience. Here's the twist, though. I wasn't aiming to destroy her. I was going to expose her. Let her do the destroying all by herself. First, I needed a stage. Somewhere public, but familiar. Somewhere the truth could land with enough weight that she wouldn't be able to wriggle out of it with tears and that tired, trembling voice. Lucky for me, we had an upcoming event circled in red on the family calendar, the annual parent leadership night at the kids' school. PTA meets open house meets local politics, the trifecta. Jessica was on the planning committee. Of course she was. It was the perfect venue. All the right people would be there, teachers, board members, other parents, even a few from the district office. It wasn't her world, exactly, but close enough to bruise her ego right where it lived. Her image. Jessica's identity wasn't just about being a mom or a wife or a woman with a fancy title. It was about being respected, admired, the put-together one. The woman people emailed for advice on how to run a clean bake sale or write the perfect grant proposal. I was about to scrub that image with a power washer. But first, the legal stuff. I met with a lawyer. A good one. No billboard nonsense or cheesy slogans. Just a guy named Wallace Kramer, late 50s, sharp as a tack, with a face like he'd seen one too many lies in a courtroom. I gave him everything. The emails, toll receipts, hotel invoices, timestamps. calendar overlaps, LinkedIn screenshots. Wallace didn't blink. She's not going to contest this, not once you show her these, he said, flipping through the evidence like it was a takeout menu. Good, I said. But I don't want to just file. I want her to know I'm 3 moves ahead. Wallace raised an eyebrow. You looking for leverage? No. I'm looking for clarity, the kind she can't gaslight or dress up. He smiled, leaned back. You know, most guys come in here wrecked. Crying. Begging for ways to win her back. I'm not most guys. No, Joseph, he said. You're not. We filed the divorce paperwork that Friday. Irreconcilable differences. No fault, because I didn't need drama in the court. Just precision. Wallace agreed to serve her on Monday, the same day she was supposed to move out. Beautiful timing. But my real masterpiece? That was scheduled for Thursday night, parent leadership night. She texted me the day before. Jess, hey, any chance you can still come Thursday night? I know things are messy, but the boys would love it. You'd be doing me a huge favor. I stared at the message. Me? Sure. I'll be there. She had no idea. Thursday came. I picked up the boys from school like always, made them dinner, helped them with their homework. Jess was already at the school when I pulled up. Her silver SUV parked near the front like she'd just stepped out of a Nancy Meyers movie. I walked in wearing slacks and a pressed button-up. Nothing flashy. Just clean, quiet, composed. I brought the manila folder, the one with every document printed and highlighted. And I brought the flash drive, my ace. Inside the gymnasium, everything looked like a Pinterest board exploded. Fairy lights, photo booth banners, some awkward pop music playing from a Bluetooth speaker. There were rows of chairs facing a makeshift podium. The parent panel was listed on the program in Comic Sans, with Jessica's name third on the lineup. When she saw me, she smiled. Not the soft kind, the social kind. The look, everyone, were still civil kind. Joe, I'm so glad you came. I nodded. Wouldn't miss it. I handed off the boys to a volunteer in the corner, handing out juice boxes. Then I walked straight to the AV table, where a guy named Sean, early 20s, intern type, awkward facial hair, was adjusting cables. Hey, Sean, I said, leaning in. I've got a flash drive with a short video Jessica wanted played during her speech. She forgot to give it to you earlier. Can you cue it up? He looked confused. She didn't say anything about. She's been swamped. Said you'd help her out. I handed him the drive. It was labeled Jessica_presentation_final. That part was true. It was her presentation. She just didn't know it. He shrugged. Yeah, sure. Just let me copy it over. Appreciate it, man. I took a seat near the front. Smiled at a few familiar faces. Waited. Jessica took the stage 10 minutes later. Her hair curled, blazer buttoned just right. She thanked everyone for coming, said something about parent engagement, and looked directly at me when she mentioned families sticking together even when it's hard. I tilted my head, smiled. Then came her cue. And now, she said, beaming, I thought I'd show a little video about what family leadership really looks like, something personal. She looked over at Sean and gave a thumbs up. The lights dimmed, and the video began. It started innocent enough, a slideshow of our kids, of us on family trips. But 30 seconds in, the screen flickered. Then came the hotel receipt. Then the emails. Then the text chain. Then the toll records. All of it. Seamless. Set to soft piano music. Titles like Chicago, February, Cincinnati, March, Minneapolis, April. Each section time-stamped. Factual, unemotional. A clean timeline of deception. The gymnasium went dead silent. Jessica stood frozen behind the podium, one hand still on the mic. You could feel the temperature drop 10 degrees. The video ended with a black screen and white text. When trust is broken, leadership begins with truth. Joseph Klein. Silence. I stood up, walked slowly to the front. Jessica finally snapped out of it. Joe, she started, voice trembling. I turned to the crowd, not her. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought it was important we lead by example. Then I turned and walked out. Didn't wait for applause. Didn't wait for gasps or whispers. Didn't even look back. Because that wasn't the end. The end was still coming. And she'd have to live in this moment for the rest of her life. All I had to do now was finish clean. You'd think after the gymnasium incident, what the moms at school would later call the PowerPoint massacre, that Jessica would vanish. You'd think she'd pack her bags, shrink back into the background like every other person who gets caught publicly with their pants metaphorically and literally down. But no. Jessica wasn't wired that way. She didn't ghost. She recalibrated. Which is worse, honestly. 2 days after the parent leadership night, she texted me. I didn't respond. The next morning, she emailed. Subject line. Please. Still no response. On Monday, she called. Twice. I let it ring out. No voicemail. She wasn't stupid enough to leave evidence in audio form. By Wednesday, she'd gone analog. A folded note left in my mailbox. Not handwritten, of course. Jessica always typed everything. God forbid someone misread her cursive, and she couldn't control the narrative. It was short. Joe, we need to talk. Just the two of us. Not about the kids. About us. One time. That's all I'm asking. I could have ignored it. God knows I wanted to. But I also wanted the full circle. Closure, or whatever people call it when the smoke finally clears and you stand over the wreckage wondering if anything's worth rebuilding. Spoiler, it's not. But I showed up anyway. Friday night. 7 p.m. Neutral ground. Not the house. Not her new rented apartment 2 towns over. I picked a cafe on Main Street. One of those places that plays acoustic covers of 80s songs and puts whipped cream on everything like it's the answer to emotional trauma. Fine. I figured she'd feel safe there. Public enough to keep her calm, quiet enough to talk. She was already seated when I walked in. Hair tied up, minimal makeup, no blazer, a rare sight. She looked like herself, or rather, the version of herself from back when we still had a marriage. For a second, I almost believed it was real. That she was here to apologize, to explain, to own up. But Jessica never showed up without an angle. That was her trademark. I sat down. No hug. No handshake. Just eye contact. She opened with a sigh. Thank you for coming. I didn't do it for you. A pause. She looked down at her cup, then back at me. I deserve that. I said nothing. Let her sit in it. I wanted to explain. Not justify. Just explain. Explain what? I asked. That you cheated? That you built a second life while I was packing lunchboxes and organizing carpool? She flinched. No, she said softly. That I was a coward. That caught me off guard. Not because I believed her, but because Jessica rarely used words that vulnerable. Coward wasn't in her regular vocabulary. It was too honest. I knew I was unhappy, she continued. And instead of fixing it, I ran. I compartmentalized. I told myself I was still being a good mom, a good wife, because I made it home in time for dinner, or because I remembered to buy the boys' Halloween costumes. That's some medal-worthy effort, I said. Sarcasm. I couldn't help it. I know how it sounds. No. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. You don't. If you knew how it sounded, you'd stop trying to frame this like you mismanaged a to-do list. You lied, Jess. Repeatedly. Strategically. With intention. That's not neglect. That's betrayal. Her eyes welled, and I could tell it wasn't for me. It was for her. She didn't like how she looked right now. The fallen matriarch, the ex-wife, the one who broke the storybook. Jessica had always been the narrative controller. She lost control that night at the school. Now she was trying to grab the wheel again. I didn't think you'd ever do what you did, she said. You mean expose you? She nodded, eyes down. Why not? I asked. Because I'm too decent? Because I wouldn't want to upset the school committee? Or embarrass the kids? She looked at me. Yes. Well, that was your third mistake. The first was thinking I'd never find out. The second was assuming I'd still protect your dignity after you trashed mine. Silence stretched between us. A folk version of Don't Stop Believin' was playing faintly from the speakers. I almost laughed at the irony. I'm not here to ask for anything, she said after a moment. I'm not trying to win you back. Good, I said, because I needed to hear it out loud. I just wanted to say it to your face, that I know what I did. And I know it wasn't a lapse. It was a choice. Repeated choices. That finally landed. I leaned back. Why him? Jessica blinked. What? Andrew Kerr. Why him? What made you look at that guy and decide he was worth setting fire to your life for? She hesitated. I didn't think of it that way. Of course not, I said. You were too busy booking conference suites and coordinating lies. She didn't respond, which was the most honest thing she'd done in weeks. He flattered me, she said finally. He saw me as someone important, desired, not just someone's wife or someone's mom, someone who mattered. That's what you needed? I asked. Validation from a divorced guy with gel in his hair and a room at the Marriott? Her voice was quiet. I needed something I didn't know I was missing. Here's the thing, Jess, I said. We all feel invisible sometimes. We all get bored. I've changed more diapers than I can count. I've eaten microwave dinners at 9 p.m. I've spent entire weekends fixing faucets while you were out pretending to be indispensable. But I never once looked outside for meaning. I know. No, I don't think you do. You don't get to just say I know and move on. You took a blowtorch to your family because your ego needed a pep talk. And now what? You want me to pat your hand and say thanks for the closure. She wiped a tear. Real one. I wasn't moved. Do you hate me? She asked, barely above a whisper. I took a long breath. Thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't hate you. But I don't love you either. And that's what hurts the most. Not the cheating. Not even the lying. Just the fact that now, when I look at you, I feel nothing. She nodded slowly. I deserve that. Yeah, I said, standing up. You do. She looked up. Joe, are we done? I paused. We were done the moment you called him A. And I walked out. The cold air hit me like a reset button. The sky was clear. The streetlights hummed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the fool in someone else's story. I felt like a man who finally reclaimed his own. You don't get an ending when something like this happens. Not really. What you get is the noise after the credits roll, the scraping of chairs, the awkward shuffle back to the parking lot, people whispering about the scene they just witnessed. And that's where I've been living since it all blew up, in the aftershock. The dust doesn't settle quickly when your entire life's been detonated by someone you trusted with the detonator. It's been 6 weeks since the night at the cafe. Jessica's out of the house, finally. She's living in a one-bedroom rental near downtown with a view of a parking lot and no dishwasher. The boys go there twice a week. I insisted on keeping them grounded at home for the majority of the week. Their school, their friends, their rhythm. She didn't fight me. Didn't have the energy, or maybe she knew the optics of it all wouldn't exactly win her favor in family court. The funny thing is, once you take the shine off someone, once you see who they really are, it's hard to remember what had you so hooked in the first place. For 9 years, I thought Jessica was the smarter half, the driven one. I was the dependable one, sure. I fixed the sink, kept the taxes filed, folded the towels the way she liked, but she was the visionary, the person with a plan. Turns out, her vision just didn't include me past year 7. She emails now. No more texts. There's something inherently transactional about it. Subject lines like soccer practice pickup and Jacob's field trip form. It's all very professional, which is exactly how it should be. Our marriage is now a calendar sync and a shared custody agreement. I'm not angry about that. In fact, there's a relief in the clarity. The neighbors know. Of course they do. You can't stage a marital explosion with witnesses and expect word not to get around. Especially not in a suburb where people spy from their kitchen windows under the pretense of watering plants. I've caught the glances, some pitiful, some curious, a few outright impressed. One guy, Dennis from 3 doors down, actually gave me a nod in the grocery store. A real saw the whole thing unfold and damn. You handled that like a sniper nod. I didn't respond. Not because I wasn't proud of how I handled it, but because there's something about being congratulated for your wife's affair that feels like a participation trophy in a game you didn't know you were playing. Work has been normal, which I appreciate. My boss, Dan, is the kind of guy who expresses sympathy by saying, rough patch, huh? And then offering you an extra coffee from the breakroom stash. I'll take it. I don't want counseling in the warehouse office. I want routine. I want deadlines. I want invoices to chase and freight logs to fix. Predictability is a gift when your personal life has resembled a reality TV finale. Max and Jacob have handled it better than I imagined. Kids are resilient, sure, but they're not stupid. They knew something was off long before I pulled the curtain back. They didn't say it, but I saw it. The way Max started getting quieter after dinner. How Jacob would ask more questions about where Mommy was. I told them the truth. A version of it, anyway. Mom and I aren't going to live together anymore. But we love you both the same. And we're going to make sure you're always taken care of. Max asked if it was because they did something wrong. That nearly broke me. I pulled him into my lap, held him until he squirmed to get free. No, buddy. Grown-ups make mistakes sometimes. Big ones. But it's not your fault. Not even a little. He nodded like he believed me. I hope he did. Jacob, in his 6-year-old glory, just asked if he could have 2 birthdays now. I told him we'd talk about it. He seemed satisfied with that. Jessica, for her part, has stuck to the script. I expected anger after the school incident. Maybe a tantrum, or some scorched earth texts about how I ruined her reputation. But instead, she folded. Quietly. It's not guilt, not really. It's calculation. Damage control. She knows she burned the wrong bridges, and now she's trying to look like the remorseful ex-wife instead of the cheating villain. PR strategy, not apology. I've heard through a mutual friend that Andrew Kerr got relocated. That's corporate speak for go away quietly, so we don't have to explain to HR why a married man was caught booking romantic getaways with a client's wife. I don't know where he is now, and I don't care. That man was never the threat. He was a symptom. Jessica was the virus. My lawyer called last week. The divorce is final. Signed, stamped, and official. Wallace, bless him, didn't even sound bored when he told me. Said it like he was delivering a eulogy. It's done, he said, like a surgeon stepping out of the OR after a long, messy operation. And in a way it was. No funeral. No tears. Just a man alone in his kitchen, opening a piece of mail that said, "You're free now." It didn't feel triumphant. It felt clean. Some nights, after the boys are asleep, I sit in the living room with the TV on and just listen to the silence. It's not the haunted kind anymore. It's not filled with suspicion or dread or the echo of lies. It's just quiet. And I've come to love that. People ask if I'll date again. I tell them maybe. Eventually. But right now, I'm dating peace. And she's low maintenance. No secret calendars, no mystery trips, no missing earrings on the bathroom sink. Just Netflix, black coffee, and two growing boys who still think their dad hung the moon. I kept one of the photos. Just one. It's from our second anniversary. We're at a diner in Tennessee, grinning like idiots, wearing those matching flannel shirts she thought were adorable at the time. Back when she still looked at me like I was enough. I don't keep it for the nostalgia. I keep it as a reminder. A reminder that people change. That love isn't always loyalty. That trust, once broken, doesn't get patched up with sorry and a fresh haircut. You don't get your old life back, but you do get a new one. And mine's just getting started. Subscribe to the channel